this is Lauren. I'm with Movieguide, and we're here on the red carpet with the film No Address, a film addressing homelessness in our country, in theaters February 28th. Come with me as we talk with the cast and crew. Tell me about how this film was different to be a part of than other past projects.
Wow. Well, this was, just the fact that someone was taking on the subject of homelessness and doing a movie about it. Like, no one's really done that in the sense that all the characters, all the actors were playing real homeless people. And so, it was, I think that's what really drew me to it, is that it was an authentic, real project showing like what people are really going through, and a subject where most of us like to look away. Nobody really wants to look at homelessness because it's awkward, it's scary, no one knows what to do, but like this is the film that you really have to look at it, and finally the topic it's about them finally being seen. And I think just by going to see the movie, we can all make a difference, and that's a wonderful thing.
Was there a specific moment during filming that changed your perspective on homelessness?
I think for me, when I realized how many young people, like I think a lot of times the stereotype is an older person that's sort of gone through some mental things, but there's a lot more younger people homeless than most people realize. And so that's just really scary and frightening, because if you're facing that at a young age, like the chances of really turning your life around, like so many bad things could happen. So I think it's an important subject that I think the only way to change it is like, honestly, all of us wanting to make a difference, and a movie like this is the first step in that direction. So I hope great things come from it. I hope some lives are changed, and I love being part of projects that, there's a possibility of that happening. So.
Could you tell me a little bit about the most rewarding part about being a part of a project that centers around empathy and compassion?
Well, you answered your own question. It's really the subject matter of the film, which is homelessness, mental health, addiction, the fentanyl crisis. The homelessness issue in America has been a major problem for decades, and it's gotten considerably, spiked during COVID, due to COVID and the fentanyl crisis. So everything we could do to raise awareness and to affect change in the form of compassion and empathy, and getting both sides of the aisle politically to have to talk to one another and have the political will to implement some of the programs around the country that are working. There's a lot of programs that are working. Fort Smith, Arkansas, San Antonio, Texas, Austin, Texas, Johns Hopkins in cooperation with Citygate, I believe in Baltimore. Help for the Homeless is doing wonderful work with homeless vets in New York. So there's really, really good programs that are working. We just have to sort of replicate them county by county, state by state.
It's a team effort for sure.
Well, it's a team effort with state, federal, local, nonprofit, faith-based. The real problem is getting both sides of the aisle on the federal level to talk to each other, and both sides of the aisle on the state level, and then bringing in the corporate component. If we get Republicans and Democrats talking, because a lot of times people say one side of the argument says the other side doesn't have the compassion, and the other side of the aisle says, all they want to do is create another government program and spend the taxpayers' dollars recklessly. And with this film, we're speaking both of their language. We're talking about compassion, and we're talking about real solutions, real answers. Some of these programs in the Gathering Inn in Auburn, California, has a 70% success rate of getting people back on their feet. No, it's comprehensive care. Mental health care, drug addiction, job training, job placement, housing, and 70% of their programs there have people back on their feet, totally independent, totally self-sufficient, going to work, making a paycheck, paying their bills, living on their own again after they were homeless. Some of these people were homeless for quite a long time, and they've overcome those barriers in their life, those obstacles.
Sounds like this film helps people find a lot of common ground with such a hard issue. Could you tell me a part about filming that really changed or helped impact your perception on homelessness?
Well, while we were filming, not during filming, but while we were filming, I spent a lot of time in homeless shelters and encampments, and the shelters will touch your heart enough, but the encampments will really blow your mind. They're really heartbreaking. I was with some amazing, beautiful people, but I also saw some really sad things. I saw a lot of children, I saw a lot of some drugs. I saw some overdose. We lost a couple people. I probably saw, 8 or 10 people flatline on fentanyl, and 5 or 6 of them they brought back, and 3 or 4 of them they didn't. So it's important to see it.
Most rewarding part about dealing with this kind of project, I think, has got to be the people, has got to be the consultants we had on board. Dealing with Xander and Beverly was never hard. They are very seasoned, experienced actors, and they brought so much experience to this that it was so easy for all of us to kind of fall into a method rhythm. I mean, we had to fall into that method sort of portrayal of these characters in order to pull this off authentically. And I honestly really enjoy throwing myself into things like that. It's a challenge, but it's a welcome one.
Was there a specific moment during filming that made you really realize the realities of homelessness?
Absolutely. I think seeing the kind of perseverance necessary to see the kind of perseverance necessary to make a film about it in one respect is entirely different than it takes to actually go through this stuff firsthand. So none of us can pretend that we know exactly what it's like to be unhoused. Anyone attached to this project, aside from our homeless consultants and the people who've actually experienced it firsthand, we've had to trust the stories of people. We've had to listen and open our hearts and minds, and I just really hope the audience can do the same.
The most rewarding thing is obvious on a certain level. To tell a story that has meaning and has hopefully an impact on lessening the suffering of others. There's so many people out there on the streets that shouldn't be. We're the richest society in the world, and it's criminal that we haven't been able to get our act together to figure out how to create a safety net to lift those that are downtrodden up. And if this movie can help in any way, I'm humbled and honored to have been a part of it.
Was there a specific moment during filming that helped change your perspective on homelessness?
Right before I began, a friend of mine who I've known through social media but hadn't known he was a vet who was disabled through his being exposed to chemical poisoning and traumatizing PTSD from what he'd seen. Sensitive soul. He's a comedian. I knew that he was working on being a comedian. I had no idea. And he said, "Oh, you're coming to shoot that film in Sacramento?" I live just outside of Sacramento. I could meet you. Oh, yeah. And then he told me his story. And I let it in, and along with the impressions of all the people in the longest homeless encampment in the world in Sacramento, an ignominious honor to be the largest homeless encampment in the world because of the Sacramento River. I guess people are able to wash up or whatever. It's a long encampment, and it's Californian. A lot of people ship their homeless out west because they can at least not, freeze to death in the winter. But it's just unbelievable, and it's so mind-blowing to see so many people in this endless tent encampment. And so, we met them at the very beginning, and we spent a week just assimilating the information before starting to film about what it was to live in that encampment, because our story takes place in that setting.
Can you tell me about a moment during filming that made you reflect on the realities of homelessness?
It's a great question. I think for me, it would be failing my child. And what my character goes through in this film, Kim, who has a 10-year-old son, I play the wife of Billy Baldwin's character's Robert. And when we start to lose things through a series of bad choices and poor events that happen in our life, and not having a support group to really be there for us, the deepest wound for me is letting my child down and not giving them the opportunities that they could have. I'm a mother, and that one really hits a deep chord for me.
Yeah, such an honest, true response. Thank you so much for that. The tagline for the movie, I know, is "Break the No Address Cycle." Does that phrase represent anything specific to you?
Oh, yeah, it's another great question. It represents a lot, I mean, when we see our lead character not having an address to put down on his job applications, it really hits home. Or when I'm interacting with the homeless community in the hospital, I play a nurse, an ER charge nurse, and I say, it just kind of comes out, go home, get some rest. And then I'm thinking, there is no home to get rest. There is a restlessness within. I mean, we all experience going to our sanctuary, however we've created it, with our stuff the way we like it. And when those people don't have it, it's got to be a real sense of disquiet, fear, anger, apprehension, and just unsafety.
We're so thankful that we were actually at the gala a week ago or so. We won Best Documentary for Americans with No Address, and which is kind of funny because this movie is No Address. It's a narrative version. It's kind of a companion piece to our documentary, and hopefully together, maybe they'll hopefully make a difference in our country. I know we're all trying to do whatever we can to reduce homelessness in the United States. It's really sad. And, we also wrote a book called No Address. We have a study guide called No Address, and we have an album with 12 songs that's going to come out this Friday on all the streaming platforms. The entire goal is just to try to garner more awareness and to get a bigger audience to send out the message of what we really need to do collaboratively with people and nonprofits and our government together to reduce homelessness in our communities.
Amazing. All good things. All good things. And this is Robert Craig Films' first feature film, if I'm understanding correctly.
It is. So this is my first movie that I've ever produced, called No Address. We started it about 2.5 years ago when I acquired the script for it. It was kind of interesting because I wasn't looking for this kind of script. I was thinking something, I don't know what I was looking for, but I really believe that God put it in my hands. And it was my second opportunity to actually to acquire it. And I decided, God, maybe this is what I'm supposed to do. So we bought the script. And from then, it's a 2.5-year process to get to this point. But what's interesting, when we first acquired the script, I'm a big marketing guy, as you can see. And the more attention that you can get on what you do will get more attention to whatever audience that you're reaching. And the audience that we're reaching is the United States. And the great cause is to get people to work together a little bit more closely, collaboratively, to help reduce homelessness in, their communities. And so then from doing the movie, we decided, let's do a documentary. That was a few months later. Sorry. Oh, this is my wife, Natasha.
Hello.
At the Movieguide. And then, yes. And then so after we acquired the rights to the movie No Address, we decided to do the documentary. To me, that wasn't enough. What can we do more to get more attention? Then we decided, well, why don't we also write a book? So we wrote the book through Ken Abraham, who was a New York Times bestselling author, because he has his own audience. We have our own audience, just with what the novel can carry, whatever it can cover. And then, then we did the study guide and the soundtrack. And all those elements together, I mean, I'm thinking we got to reach the whole country. And so here it is. The No Address, the movie is going to be coming out in a couple of weeks, February 28th.
Yep, February 28th.
Yeah, February 28th. Big day.
Well, and tell me a little bit more about 50% of net profits being donated back to the cause.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because at the beginning, when we first started this, it never really was about making a profit. It was really about following what I believe what God is wanting, us to do. And then we realized that, the profits that Robert Craig Films would be making, why don't we give half of that back to nonprofits throughout the country who are working tirelessly to reduce homelessness in their communities. And so we decided to do that because, because it's all about building God's kingdom. It's not about building our kingdom here on earth, because that's not going to last forever, but God's kingdom is going to last forever. So we thought, why don't we give half of it away, and we'll let God take the films, and we'll just see where they go, because I can't do anything with it. Only everybody else that's involved with it, it's really them that's making it work. And God brought the resources, the people, and to put it together. And so here we are.
Here we are. It's all about making an eternal impact. What are you hoping that audiences take away from this film tonight?
I just hope that this film for me was like a love letter to those on the streets who don't deserve to be there. And so my hope is that people will fall in love with the characters that they meet and get to know in the movie, and realize that there are a lot of individuals on the streets who don't deserve to be there. And we as a society have to come together and do what we can to help find solutions, because every human being deserves a little dignity and a helping hand. You know, I'm a great believer that when you give someone a chance, change is possible. And so I hope that that will be the takeaway.
Is there a specific moment during filming that you really felt like changed your perspective or added to your perspective on homelessness?
Oh my God, when we were filming in Sacramento, it was so cold. We were literally, it was the worst winter ever. We were filming in like torrential rain, hail, blistering winds. And it really struck a chord with me, because for us, it was just temporary. All the actors were such troopers because they were all freezing. But for people that live in those tents and live on the streets, this is their reality. And it just made me feel I'm so lucky and so grateful. And we have to. It really made me more and more determined that we've got to do something about this.
Yes, and on that note, we've heard that 50% of net profits are going towards organizations to help combat homelessness. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, that would be something that Robert Craig and his team can tell you all about, but I'm very moved by his generosity, and I'm so happy that that is what's happening with the film, because I'm, the filmmaker. For me, this was a letter of love. So to find an investor, producer, who is so kind and generous was really a beautiful thing.
Could you tell me a little bit more about the film's involvement of donating 50% net profits to help combat homelessness?
You know, we really found that so much of this American crisis is actually about these nonprofits that are out in our country actually making the difference. They are the solutions. And when we found that, we decided, 50% of the net profits from everything that we do, this movie and other productions that we're doing around this movement, need to go back to those organizations. And we're just so proud to do that, because this is so near and dear to our heart. We need to meet people where they are, not where we think that they should be.
Yes, beautifully stated. One of the taglines for the film is break the no address cycle. What does that phrase mean to you?
Well, to not have an address is not anything that many of us think about. It might be that, you don't have a home, you don't have somewhere where you walk into, you don't have a neighborhood, but you can't get mail, you can't apply for a job. There's so many barriers that these people on the streets that find themselves in this situation that can't do anything without a physical address. So for us, it's about how do we break that cycle? How do we find people to have not only homes, but communities and people that love them? Our whole film is about showcasing the human side of this situation, and that's what we're here to do, is create that empathy and that compassion so that people take action and that we can all come together.
Oh my gosh, this film touches my heart in a lot of ways. My mother struggled in a lot of ways with homelessness, and when I was first approached to help produce this film with Robert Craig, it was an important part for me to play in order to help spread the word about the struggles of people surviving the streets. And with Robert's vision of wanting to not just make this movie, but then also the documentary and all the other elements to it, it's been such an amazing godsend to watch how well received it is nationwide. And so for me personally, I got a lot out of it, a lot of growth, a lot of healing, a lot of excitement, but it was also kind of crazy to meet every cast member and crew member that I hired through that process. Almost everybody was touched by somebody with homelessness, and so that was eye-opening and crazy and also so rewarding. I mean, it wasn't an easy feat to make this movie. We dealt with some crazy weather and challenges, but to be here today is truly an honor. I'm so blessed to be a part of it, and to have my name up there is, making it cross that finish line.
Yes, I could imagine. Is there a specific moment during filming that really impacted your perception on homelessness?
Yeah, I'll tell you, while we were shooting this movie, we had severe weather, and it made us all, cast and crew, realize how lucky we were to be able to go home at night, take a hot shower, and go to bed. That was probably my biggest lesson. I got chills right now talking about it, because you're going, man, it's unbelievable that these people have to live in that and survive that. And the learnings that I had about the struggles they have with gang members and just being able to survive, not to mention all the other elements, it was completely eye-opening. So my heart and my passion is to help these people as much as we can, to do what we can to break this homeless cycle.
What is the most rewarding part about being involved with a project that focuses on empathy and compassion?
Yeah, anytime that I can be a part of a project and use my music to promote that is incredible. Like, the work that they're doing and the movement that is happening with No Address is something that's really special, and I'm incredibly honored to be a part of it.
How did this project differ from other projects your music has appeared in the past?
Yeah, I think so much of it has to do with me, honestly, like my music in the past and my experiences, and getting to write something that really captures the experience that other people are going through is pretty different for me.
Could you tell me your favorite part about being involved with a project that involves compassion and empathy?
My favorite part is that is what I get to do in music, that I get to tell amazing stories and kind of be a part of the soundtrack of reality. And so this picture in particular, the idea of coming alongside of it and creating musical moments to be a part of that in the soundtrack is, it's honoring, and it feels like it's meaningful. Yeah.
Coming together really for great causes is what motivates change.
Absolutely. And, I would be remiss to not mention that we're talking about, displaced people, homelessness and things like that. And, with being in Los Angeles with what happened recently with the fires in Altadena and Pacific Palisades, like, you do get to see a whole nother aspect of homelessness from the standpoint of there could be natural phenomenon, it can be anything, and anybody can find themselves in a situation of not having a home.
I'm most looking forward to seeing overall the film because I love the script, and immediately when I read the script, I was so moved. So the story as a whole, that is what I'm most looking forward to.
How does this differ from past projects that you've been a part of?
This one differs from past projects in the respects that it moved me, like my spirit, completely, and there's a message, a higher purpose, and a group of filmmakers, but also they brought in community in this film to bring a message to the world.
Is there a specific moment during filming that you noticed a different change in your perspective on people struggling with homelessness?
On people, could you repeat?
On people struggling with homelessness.
I would have to say that me as a person, I was already aware, and that is a big part of why I stepped into this film passionately. But I will say that to answer your question, yes, there was a moment on the first day of set, seeing it in that it's a set, but it felt so real. The emotions, like the hairs on our arms were standing up. There were moments where they would shoot a scene and I would genuinely, tears would come out of my eyes because I could feel it in the sincerity of like that this isn't just a movie, this is really happening in real life.
Could you tell me the most impactful part about being involved with a project that really deals with compassion and empathy?
The biggest part of dealing with this movie was being able to see everybody have a voice. The people who live in the homeless encampments and everything, it was really impactful to see them have a voice. That was like the biggest thing, is because we always drive past people, we see people every day, and it just pulls at your heartstrings to realize it could be anybody. Yeah.
Was there a specific moment during filming that really made you see a different perspective of people who are struggling, who are displaced?
Yes, and I can't talk about it because I'm in the movies. It's my part. Seeing what happens with my character, it was a big eye-opening moment. So,
as an actress, I find that our job in this whole industry is to promote and to basically be a catalyst for change, right? And so being a part indirectly of No Address, it highlights a social justice issue, which is very prevalent in the US especially. And I think it's just, that's the beauty of good art, and great art highlights what we need to change in the world and changes hearts and minds and just elevates things that need to be shown light. And so it is just such an honor to be here tonight to like bring and highlight these wonderful people that put this together, and to show that every person has value that is on this earth. It doesn't matter. Everyone has had their troubles, and so there's no judgment. We are here to help, and that's what I love about this film and being involved, for sure.
Yes, what an honor to be an advocate for change, right? Yes.
Filming is all about advocate for change, especially for things like this, which people really need to hear this message, so it's really cool to be here.
That's a wrap from the red carpet of No Address. For more of the full-length interviews, check out movieguide.org.
If you enjoy videos that follow your values like ours and you want to help us continue, go to movieguide.org/donate, because we're actually a nonprofit. You may not know that, but we're working in Hollywood every day to help families have more choices that follows their values. And also subscribe right now.